as usual, I'm here in the beautiful city of Newburgh, New York. And the weather's starting to get to be what we used to call a tad bit nipple, i.e. chilly, brisk. Not entirely cold, but I've had to bundle up a little bit today. Not wearing gloves though. Not yet. So, this is what you call the HUFFY HAVOC mountain bike. And I think mountain bikes like this are incredibly interesting because this is a bike you would have bought at Walmart or Kmart, Toys R Us, but it has a suspension fork. And it's a really weird suspension fork. It's got this sort of fork crown that's brazed onto these cheap fork legs, and then up here is just a spring, like a car spring. And I don't know how the spring fits into the head tube or into the steer tube. I've never taken one of these apart. But I guess HUFFY figured out that people want a bike with a suspension fork on it. And so they just slapped one on there. I really wonder if that was a selling point to people. I know when I sell cheap mountain bikes, like the Next or the Rhino, people like them because they have full suspension. It strikes me as kind of weird that anyone would ever buy this because of the suspension fork. But it looks really gnarly. This whole bike looks like a motorcycle almost. Especially from down here. This is the ratrodbikes.com worm's eye view. This is my latest build. So this bike is spec'd out with cheap parts. Plastic brake levers, generic shifters. It's indexed. It's got 10 speeds. Imagine that. 10-speed mountain bike. No. It's not. It's 15 speeds. See, I spoke too soon. There's 3 in the front. 3 times 5 is 15. I'm sorry, HUFFY. Index shifters. This really cool, really cheap, really cheesy gooseneck stem. Little grips. I don't know why, this is a full-size man's bike, but these are not full-size men's grips. The fork crown has this plastic cover on it. I'd love to see what it looks like under there. It looks like just like they took a normal fork and probably just cut it off at the bottom and slipped this assembly over it. The hub is low flange, basic steel. Wheels are still reasonably tight. Look at these little half-inch axle nuts though. I don't even think you could get away with that now. Nice knobby tires. Your HUFFY USA. See, made in USA doesn't always mean good. 15-speed index shifting, just like I already said. This sort of padded, I don't know, this is not really a vinyl seat, it's more like a rubber seat. It's got some padding. Love the reflectors. I used to think reflectors are terrible, and I would take them off my BMX bike. But when you're riding at night, and there's a car coming up, a reflector can be the difference between them knowing you're there and them not knowing you're there. Here's the polygon stamped steel brake. I wouldn't really want to be like bombing down this hill on this bike and try and stop it with this brake, but it's better than nothing. There's the index shifting system in the back. The brake cable routing through plastic clips. Derailleur cable routing. Here's your front derailleur with like a hair in it. And cheap one-piece steel cranks with the little knob that these used to snap off sometimes. And if you're really pedaling hard and that little nub snaps off, then you're screwed. And 2 awesome Phillips head screws This is for a water bottle. Like, they didn't put bosses on the frame, braze-ons or anything. They just dented the frame a little bit and threaded the frame. Let me see if you can focus on that. The light's kind of low, so the camera's having trouble focusing. So, and here's the weld quality, the braze quality. So my impression, of course, of a Huffy bike is that it's just like a cheap Walmart bike. You know, Huffy has a stigma attached to the name, but I really can't help myself but kind of fall in love with this dumb mountain bike because it's got this gorgeous champagne color, sort of light metallic, and it's not too ostentatious. It's kind of a matte finish almost, except for where the decals are. And it's got these black components, so it looks really bad. I mean badass, not like a bad bike. And this suspension fork just kills me, man. I mean, probably could literally kill you if you rode it down a hill, but it's just the wildest thing that they wanted to put a suspension fork on a cheap bike, and this is what they came up with. Just a traditional sort of BMX style fork with a spring. And I'm dying to know what holds it all in place. Like if there's some... What do you see up there? I'm not gonna get down and look. So that's the Huffy Mount HAVOC. And I'm not sure I'd want to ride this bike because it probably sucks to ride. I'm not sure I'd even want to try and tune it up. The cranks are a little bit loose. And I'm sure every bearing needs grease because they probably didn't have much from the factory, but condition is excellent. It's obvious nobody even rode the thing. Not very much. So, I have to admit, I really do like the Huffy Mount HAVOC mountain bike. Now, I wouldn't necessarily recommend this if you want a bike to ride, especially one with suspension. But for pedaling around town, or for, you know, hanging on your wall, let's say, if you have an environment where you get to hang a bike on your wall, like a garage or a restaurant, this is a really cool looking bike. So that's that. The Huffy Mount HAVOC hardtail, that's what they call this kind of bike. No suspension in the back, suspension in the front. Huffy Mount HAVOC hardtail mountain bike here behind the library in the city of Newburgh, New York.